Go for it. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's time for the Hang Time Podcast. We're here with Fran Mirabella.
That's the intro. This is official now.
Yeah, we're just doing
Man, you
it.
go in hot. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Hang Time.
Just
Fair
to make
enough.
sure.
It's a good way to kick it off.
Yeah.
Just to make sure.
Well, thank you for having me, guys.
Of course. So if you guys don't know, I'm hosting it like it's live. What the hell am I doing? But this is Fran. He is DJ Franchise. Whenever you hear the intro on our content, whenever you hear somebody get band hammered, just today, actually, Fran, we had a, oh, you stupid motherfucker, like, get banned. So chat gets a kick out of it. We also have an now have like an automated system to where if Chad James comes into the, what's that?
You have a Fran bot, a franchise bot?
We call it Shockabot. Call it Shockabot. But like if Chad James comes into the chat, you automatically insult him. It detects him in the chat.
It's pretty sick.
So we don't even have to trigger it.
Wait, are you for real? It triggers in the audio file when like Chad shows up.
Yeah.
It
detects him in the chat list, and then it insults him.
So even if he's lurking, he gets called out.
Yes.
Exactly.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so he
brutal.
can't just sneak up on us.
He doesn't even
love
have to
that.
actually say anything.
He
But-
loves it. He
Yeah,
absolutely loves
I love
being
it.
called out.
So we operate kind of in similar circles. Just to get a cold intro, because I've never met you besides kind of business calls about doing some voiceover work for us. You've never met Grayson before, other than what you've seen. But we are Hang Time. We make content together. I've known Grayson since we were little kids. Like we were growing up in the country, like talking shit about IGN when we were like kids, right?
Yeah,
True
yeah.
story.
So you might have by proxy at some point been insulted by us.
Yeah, I was like, what? Just lay it on me now. You have me. What were you pissed about? Is it Mario Kart Double Dash? Like, just
I mean,
I can't go a
Double
weekend.
Dash.
That
I've
one
actually exactly. I've actually talked to Greg Miller about this in person about how like I once commented. I think because he was like, I've never seen Die Hard. I think I once commented that Greg Miller, I wanted to punch him in the face, right in the comments.
I think
And
that
now
all
it's
the
like-
time.
Yeah. And now it's like we're in this space where like we actually encounter and like talk
Yeah.
to him.
You're like, oh wait, he's a real person with like a family.
I think that's how I was like honestly introduced to Greg. It was like, hey Greg, this is my buddy Grayson. We talk trash about you way back in the day. I was like, oh yeah, sweet.
Yeah. So
I think
it's,
that's
it's,
on brand for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to repair a lot of relationships here, but it's one of those things where to interact with somebody like you, like for me and Grayson, it's kind of strange because we would have never dreamed of being like in the gaming space as entertainers.
Yeah.
So it's cool. But
Hey, I mean, that
wanna
was
know,
Tim and Alfredo even at one point, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And
kind
here
of
they
thing.
are today.
Except for we're not famous.
Yet.
oh,
And
what are
we're
you
not on
talking about?
Forbes
You guys
30 under
totally,
30.
totally are.
Well,
We'll get there.
I'm not
you
sure
like
that our
30
audience
something like
actually reads Forbes. I think it's an amazing accolade for the record. It's incredible.
yeah.
But at
that's
the
very
same time, I
impressive.
think you got to be worried that like most of your audience is on Forbes all day, and then they take a break. Except maybe that's what Chad does. Maybe I don't know, but
Yeah, he
So
knows
it's-
him. He knows him already.
Call him out already.
So,
Fran's the best.
introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure.
I always love having the guests on. Tell us all about you, Fran.
oh man. Well, one, feel free to interrupt me. I talk a lot. I like to talk. Probably worked out that you have hired me for some VO. But yeah, as you were alluding to, I was at IGN many years. Started way back, almost in years. I feel I don't like putting it out there. You're like, wait, what? How old are you now? But I started very young. I started IGN at 2000. Reviewing N64 games, doing news, all that. We were, some of the first people to unveil the name GameCube to the world through our sleuthing, Metroid Prime being in first person. And
Let me
way
stop you
back.
there. So
we're only
I
at
already
2000. We got 21 years to go.
I already want to ask you like 1,800 questions.
Yeah.
So can you just be a little transparent with me and like how tired are you talking about that time in internet history?
How tired?
Yeah, is it okay if we like discuss that?
Oh yeah, of
Is that
course.
like I just hate
Oh,
talking to
you
people
mean
when it's
like-
like a
oh.
worn out topic for them, right?
No. What I would say, your audience better than anyone. I would just like whatever you think they want to hear. Like, but let me give you the things to pick from. So that's
Okay.
one era, N64, but mostly GameCube, Fran. Right. Fran Cube actually was a username that I had for a long time. I know,
That's
super
awesome.
clever.
That's pretty sick.
I'm easily impressed, I guess. But anyway, so that was a big era, and then it moved on to, what happened was Adobe invented Flash, if you remember Flash, and that allowed you to serve video on the internet. And then all of a sudden, I've skipped some parts here, but they say, oh, Fran's making some like video reviews and stuff. He seems to know video. Do you want to start the video department and be the video guy, And so then I became the first video guy, like really officially started the team. And that was, let's see, that was like 2004 going into 2005. And then Nick was one of the first hires in, it must have been 2005 or 6. And then that moved and the team, blew up and we started YouTube along the way. And then Twitter, right? Launched Twitter, did Snapchat, one of the first, So I sound like I'm bragging now, and I should mention, like, man, what an incredible team and a huge team at IGN. I mean, that's what I was lucky to do all along the way. But it was pretty much a lot of that. But I moved, as you can sort of hear if you listen closely, it was like Fran's doing content, he's writing, people know Fran, and then I think Fran's still there, and oh, there he is. He shows up on Fireteam Chat, the Destiny Fran, and or show up with Greg somewhere every once in a while. But I became in the background at later in my career. It was mostly management, So here we are today. And then I left at the end of 2018 and set out to do everything from video production consulting to doing Twitch and content. Then when the pandemic hit, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on Twitch. I'm going to stay on content right now since going outside can be scary sometimes.
So I think already it's like
wow.
I kind of wanted to frame this. The dream would be to kind of frame this as like two nerds out in the country that like were consuming this content.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was me at one point too. So.
Exactly, and so just what was. I mean, you started video like when Flash was invented. What was it? What was the space like in trying to pioneer and do video reviews? What was it like? The first set of comments or feedback on like I can see the footage and hear the critique at the same time.
I don't know. I don't vividly remember that kind of like being impressed with it being on video because, we were just a service of everything, news to gameplay clips, the first trailers, and so I think people expected it of us. So I don't know that we ever got like the wow, but maybe we did. I always, unfortunately, I'm one of those persons always focused on improving. And so, I probably was too deep in the weeds on that to like take the compliment of people like, dude, a video review, but
yeah.
But no, originally it started as well. IGN had a subscription program, their version of Patreon, so to speak, because the internet was super tough and most internet's, companies were going out of business. And so that's what happened. It came to blows like in the early 2000s, a little before that. And I also did IGN Insider. I was editor-in-chief of that content for a while, doing like head-to-head comparisons and actually funny, reference is, what is it? Richard, is it Ledbetter, Digital Foundry? But I think that's the lead guy. We go way back because back then we were trying to figure out like what is the best quality compressed video, and I used to talk to him way back then, and he'd have like custom rigs, and I had stuff that I was doing, bringing into IGN and renting all this hardware, trying to figure out how to do HD video reviews. By the way, at the time, that was a thing. You had to like figure out how am I going to capture HD video.
Can you tell me about the equipment list? Like, because I remember, I interned for like a real old internet company, Screw Attack. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yes.
But they were still streaming through a VCR to Justin TV, like in 2008, right?
Wow.
Can you, what was, like, what tools were you using to figure out this video technology?
It actually is really interesting, and people, I think, take it for granted that, again, because the way video encoding is improved, like just to be able to do this and the quality that it is kind of like insane these days, but you would take it for granted. And you should. It shouldn't be that impressing now. But yeah, way back then, basically, right, you got to remember everything was a square, it was first of all, it might have been 640 by 480 roughly, but the internet couldn't even handle that. And so you'd be posting these tiny little 320 by 240s. And, the idea of doing HD and the quality of that was really tough. So the first thing was like a codec. Like, what is it? H.264 didn't exist. Back then it was Sorensen. There was like a Sorensen video codec. But long story short, rented a bunch of various equipment. Eventually, some of those, codecs came around. H.264, I don't know when H.264 hit, but stuff like that is what we
use when we export.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what you use today still. It's crazy, but
Yeah.
it might have been H.263 or so. I don't know. I forget if that's a thing. There was VP something. And anyway, all these codecs is what made it possible, as well as, and the big thing was, you got to remember that GameCube and consoles, they either had that old S-Video plug or the red, yellow, white cables, composite.
Babies.
That was the quality of video you get. Or maybe you had component cables. And the big thing back then was, unfortunately, you couldn't just walk into Best Buy and buy a component video capture that would capture HD video. Progressive video, by the way, 480p was like one of the better qualities. Soon that moved to 720p. So figuring out how to do that was like, it just didn't exist. So it got to the point where, if you've ever heard of Avid, which is similar to, there's Adobe Premiere and there's Avid. They do a bunch of hardware and setups for film. And eventually through, working in the space and having companies that, know this stuff, I got like this. It was like at the time, I always remember, it must have been like a 25,000 stack of hardware. I finally convinced the powers at IGN. I was like, we have to rent this. And it was for, I believe it was the launch of Xbox 360, and Perfect Dark Zero was like the first thing I got to put through this. And I was like capturing the highest quality, video at possible time. And that's the interesting part. It's like one of the very first HD video reviews ever on the internet. It's got to be. I don't know how it couldn't be, right? So doing it for me, that is always super vivid. Charles Onyett did the voiceover, who is over at Apple now, but man, that always strikes. It was just like they wheeled it in, as a couple stacks of, the capture hardware, and I was capturing encoded files, DNX HD is what it is. And oh man, as you can tell, I nerded out, and that was a huge moment for us to be able to put forward. But we only rented it, and then the next step was I had to get the signatures. Like, we have to buy one of these.
Yeah. It was expensive enough to where you couldn't buy it without corporate approval, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy to think how many people watched that and they didn't have probably the resolution to even handle the video.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
They probably had, like, you're right, an old monitor that wasn't even HD. It's another good point. But we were doing it. We wanted to be on the cusp.
What's so funny about hearing all this is I remember watching like all those old reviews and stuff like that. And for me back then, I was like, oh yeah, they're just plugging it into a camera and just recording it and just putting it up. It's no big deal. And now hearing this, I was like, man, I was a dumb kid.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue what I was thinking.
But that was for, the HD stuff, only when it was, crossing that line. And then it did start to become, okay, well, it got cheaper. But dude, the setups were crazy. I mean, we could have literally like 8 hours of show programming to talk about the craziness around the competitiveness of capturing all that stuff and going to events. By the way, if you ever talk to Nick, just ask him, be like, wait, what did you have to bring in the mid 2000s to go to like Japan and events to capture video? And
it's crazy to think.
It was the worst.
I remember events. I've only done a few gigs in like games journalism because I didn't have a whole lot of ends, but like I would go to like Ubisoft events, and they'd be like showing off like Far Cry Primal and stuff like that, and they do up this room like a big cave, and they just give you a hard drive.
Yeah,
they give it to you. God. Hey, here's a 2 gig hard drive, capture whatever you want and take it with you. And they have the capture stations, you plug it in. So like that
would have been nice.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been so nice. So like he's got like a hospital cart full of all this stuff, and I'm just like, I go there with nothing, and I leave with the footage on a 4-inch drive, right?
It's a total back in my day, Oh man,
just getting all that stuff checked at like airports and stuff like that. You're like, oh god,
nightmare. That's exactly it.
If you
dude.
lose something, then you're just like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? I guess I gotta go find a Best Buy or something to pick up more stuff.
So it tended to be, it was lit. You would see us going for Tokyo Game Show as an example, and we'd all be on the same like flight roughly, times, and it'd be Game Trailers, GameSpot, IGN primarily, and you just see I could always tell who the video people were. They had these huge Pelican hard case plastic, just, you know, everything's packed because you can't fit it on the plane, and you're terrified that if it breaks, you're screwed for your event. But dude, we were all going through customs, just like so tired, and it literally would take like an hour just to get past like the custom side, and there was all this stuff around it. But it was a nightmare. And yeah, the beginning of my career was all like pre what you're describing, literally crawling under those black curtain, you know, desks, those temporary desks they set up to have the event. And underneath, of course, is all the wires, and I'm like sweating down there, and GameSpot's over there, and we're all wiring, looking at each other. And I actually always remember one event. It was, I think it was Namco for like a Ninja Gaiden event or something. But I remember something broke of ours. It was not working. And it's not like cool. I think this is wonderful conversation. So don't think getting into the technicalities is like bad. Yeah, but just interrupt me if I go off the rails.
Just imagine it's not shit. Elgato's busted. Here it is. This is the problem. There's 2 wires in this whole bitch. It's not. It's going in there. It's not working. It is. Hey, here's converters, SDI to SD, like
the link to the link to a link of another link.
Yeah,
it's the
and
same.
You're looking at the stack, and you're just like,
it's a giant Tetris puzzle.
It's the same as when your computer breaks, and you have a couple things like a mic, you know, something for your mic and something for video and a monitor, and you're trying to figure out like, what is it? Is it the cable? You know, you literally go through that live, and the event starts in like 10 minutes, and but yeah, I always remember it was Game Trials. I was pretty sure. Okay. Maybe I did forget, but they loaned me an extra of something they had. They said, and it was super competitive back then. We literally would capture and race. You would try to get the closest hotel because the first person to have the video up was the one that everybody would link to, and the pressure too, right? And that was the hardest part about it. Is you're racing against all these technicalities and the guilt trip that you would get if you could not get that file encoded in a reasonably competitive time. Anything could go wrong, and it'd be like the emails that we would get that were just like, oh, you don't have no idea how hard this was. Yeah. And you're complaining that it was like an hour late, but it wasn't late. It was like, that was the best we could do, man. It was nightmare.
So I've been to E3 a couple of times. Grayson's never been able to make it. And again, like with this kind of knowledge that like kids from the country, E3, what? You know, whenever he joined us later, but I was a little bit into some games media stuff while he was still working like as a police officer. So I call him like, oh my God, dude, I'm at E3. Can you believe this? This is incredible. But I remember I went to, I think the last E3 I went through was like 2015. I went to 2 or 3 E3s, but I remember 2015 seeing the media room when video was established. It was like, cool, the video's here. And I remember seeing the media room and seeing all of the games journalists writing. And it was, I just remember thinking to myself, man, I just felt this kind of energy of, it's gotta suck so bad to be a games writer for E3 previews, sitting amongst hundreds of your peers, writing the exact same preview with the exact same press briefing as the guy right next to you. And you are racing, right? And to take that energy and consider how horrible it must have been to solve a technical difficulty when you got game trailers like down the hall trying to record the exact same thing is
it was, you know, I think you guys are similar from the looks of what you're doing, but you know, you thrive under pressure, right? And like some of that was good. It really got you to be innovative, but also really moving super fast as you could. But yeah, it was a nightmare. You want to talk about E3? I mean, just absolutely always very difficult, like you're saying, and a lot of sweating, a lot of just like crawling on the ground, you know, sweating profusely. And, you know, like I used to, for example, just add to that perspective, I had a power converter from the lighter adapter in the SUV I rented to power the laptop that I started, plugged in, compressing as soon as possible right after. You got a camera going into a laptop, live recording, start the recording. Only one, not two, because you can imagine two laptops. One being a backup would also be a nightmare. And it's just me. They only, or, and by the way, Nick and all these people would be at various events, not just me.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, it's just me. But then I'd rush to the SUV, make sure it's plugged in, that the power cable's plugged in, because it would run out of power so fast because it's encoding video. Then you got to park in the E3 garage and you're carrying the laptop back to the room if anything went wrong. And then the worst of it was the encoding sometimes would crash. If that crashed, and it often did, you would be trying to encode these hour-long press conferences, and you'd be there till 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah,
it's fun.
And then the render time.
Rendering that thing too.
God. Was there ever some kind of weird, funky energy between the transition from written games journalism to video production journalism?
I like that question a lot because it was why I decided to do video. I think, if I understand the question. So, I was doing everything from previews to features to reviews. And, at the time, like I said, they came to me and said, oh, this opportunity's coming up. Do you want to be the video guy? And I didn't just immediately jump. Yes, of course, Looking back, I'm like, why wouldn't you? Duh.
Yeah.
So I took the night to think about it, and of course I was like, yes. But what really I had remembered always at the time, I was like, wait, I started doing video because I was writing this preview for many people won't remember the game. It was actually Extreme G3, which was just a super fast, Akira style, future motorbike racer.
Yeah, Wipeout, but with
F-Zero, Wipeout, Extreme G, they're all in the same category.
It was totally inspired by Wipeout and things like that around it. But I remember I was writing, and this was before I got super into the video side because it was very early. I was trying to describe how much faster the different classes, 50G, 100G, 250G, whatever, CC, sorry, would be. And I'm trying to write it in words. I was and I went to one of the guys that did some of the video effects and stuff at the time, and I said, can I put two videos next to each other? At the time they were just squares. So I was like, can I make a super wide video of just the same thing? And he's like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's weird, but you can do it. And I was like, oh, dope. So I'm now I'm going to put the clips in and just show you. And that for me was a huge moment that I was like, I'm describing to you, which is some of the joy of being a writer, because you don't always have time or whatever to watch video. But the fact, I was like, wait, I can just show them. I was like, you kidding me? So yeah, I mean, if I understand it, that for me was just such a huge moment, being able to show them. It wasn't weird at all. It was fascinating and exciting, and we can see where all that's led.
I think that's not quite what I was asking, but
okay, sorry.
That's a better answer than what I would have gotten.
Was yours was there any pushback to doing video instead of
written? I just as far as a I mean, I'm not saying there was infighting or anything, but was there any people that were or even yourself? I mean, obviously you just told us that the transition was very natural because there's nothing better than the video in the show. But culturally in the games journalism space, was it? I mean, I can appreciate editorials now more than ever, right? As far as written word, but was there any video we have to keep it written?
Was this? Do you mean from?
Yeah.
Do you mean from an audience perspective or
no? From a
internal?
I'm a games journalist. Fran's over there doing cool video stuff. I hate it. Nothing will be better than the written word, right? Just in the space, kind of.
No, I think that never came through, but definitely there was the obvious burden on writers, and it still exists today. Many writers just want to write, which is interesting. Going back to my story, I think that maybe is why I went there. Apologies. It always excited me, and I always wanted the most resources and potential to tell the same story. Both, though, not just video. Ideally, you tell both. But yeah, I would say as journalists, there's a lot of people who just don't want to deal with it. There's so many things to they don't know how to write VO. They may be great writers, but they don't even know how to put it down. And then it comes into like the performance, or it's like, wait, are you going to let somebody else read it instead? It's still your word. And
Yeah.
so all of that became super complicated, and for many years was one of the more difficult parts, is getting the video done, because writing is so much more, let's say, fluid, but in a way it's a lot less work, because not that it's not hard, make that very clear. Writing can be very hard sometimes, but just all of the different steps to video is like, it's very distracting at times.
Yeah, I mean, just baseline. I mean, I have a writer. I'm a writer. I have opinions on a piece, and still, not to discredit writing, I still read written reviews, of games, and I read editorial pieces and stuff. It's not like the written word is dead. But very interesting to think about. You are right in that a video, you got a writer. Somebody has to do the VO. If it's not a writer, you have an editor, and at that time, the editor might have to get graphics from a different department, right? And then you have the kid, the intern, or the writer also would have to capture the gameplay, right? And the capture process was horrible when writing reviews. I've edited a couple of reviews, but even capturing for another editor is almost worse. Because you capture, and then you say now I got to go through the 10 hours of footage and then kind of pre-edit it or sort it, and then give the editor notes as to like where specific cues are for them to
that was
to
often
make a
one
cut.
of the biggest sticking points for IGN editors. Was, on the one hand, they would have preferred just somebody else. Please, I'm so busy like trying to get my head around this game. You're asking me to like capture and think about video. But that was like the best way to do it. You know exactly the parts. It's like it was all about figuring out a workflow, which frankly was very hard to just continue to do. Like if you think of, I'm telling you, I'm like, I need you to not only think about your review, how you're playing the game, but also on the side, I'm having you capture the video and take a moment every 30 minutes or something tracking system that you say, wait, that was a moment, and I'll probably talk about it, and label it now, because you don't want to scrub through 10 hours.
Exactly.
You want to do it in a process. And I actually did for Metroid Prime. That's where I developed my first, I was I did the guide, the review. This was for Metroid Prime. I think it was one. Yeah. The guide, the review, the video review, like all of it. But it was like a process, right? I was sitting there at home, on my futon with a DV camera with the game plugged in and duplicated, right? At the same time I'm recording, and I'd be recording and taking like little notes along the way of the time code and stuff like that.
Whole lot of pausing.
That's a
whole lot of pausing.
Yeah. Well,
hold
it may
on.
work.
What's writing a guide like? I mean, especially on a professional, it's not you're not putting
remembering
it up,
everything.
Yeah, you're not putting it up on Game Facts on a forum as a passion project. Like, this is something that you're trying to build within the brand. IGN is a destination for video game guides as well. What kind of pressure was that like to write a good guide?
Yeah, because like for me, whenever I play a game, I'll forget something that I did like 5 minutes ago, or I'll think I did it right, only to realize I remembered it completely wrong. So the stress of being right, I don't even imagine that.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't write too many guides. Like, normally what happened was early on, because resources were thin, and like I said, the internet was barely even functioning profitably, that we were worried we were going to go out of business, that it became you're doing this, can I get you to do the guide as well? The idea was you maybe wouldn't be doing as much news and other things during the day, but it turned into everything, that you'd be there late anyway. But long story short, I mean, it's one of those things you do along the way. Normally what would happen is you review the game, then you do the guide, which meant probably replaying through it. Or depending on the type of game it was, you'd revisit things and try to piecemeal. The guide would go up in progress, by the way. It wouldn't be like, it wasn't like Prima would do. You would like literally piece by piece start assembling it. It wasn't super fun.
Just imagine being the guy who not only can't source the internet for like 100% completion guide, but you are the first guy to write the completion guide.
Yeah. But I mean, I think to your point that's where all people, since they were going up in pieces and the internet existed, like you could find information and cross-reference. And, the Prima guides were also often out too. So you could use that as a reference. You don't want to plagiarize.
I'm gonna buy this real quick.
How hard is it to not just copy from a Prima strategy.
Yeah, well,
guide.
it would be very hard because you would, you know, you don't want to plagiarize it. So you look at it, you'd be like, well, this is the official guide. It's got to be right, you know? So you'd want to just write your own version of it. But the reality is no, like you needed not only to get in there, you take the screens, you do it your way, etc. But the good news was the info is there. So you sometimes would just reference, and you've already probably played the game at that time, depending. I mean, this was in my scenario. I was a reviewer that occasionally was burdened with doing a guide, whereas
And of
there's
course,
plenty
if,
of
like,
people that,
And there might be like a section that might be you're gonna personalize it with if Fran was like, man, I had a hard time with that. You put that in the guide. It's like, hey, make sure and keep an eye out because, you know, that's a tough corner that I couldn't see very well and stuff like that. But that's absolutely wild.
I mean, there's plenty of talented people at IGN today that's their entire job, and I've always had a ton of respect for them. It does take a certain type of person, you know. You've just got to be the type that can keep your head down and focus, you know, on just all of that info, like you're saying, and not forgetting, and all the note taking, and
just really loving it.
Did you ever go back and play Metroid Prime again after you dealt with all that, or was it just kind of like, I'm so sick of this now?
You know, I don't think I played it like in full, but I certainly went back and played it at times because it's such an incredible game. But yeah, if you're hinting that a guide can sour you in a game, definitely that type of thing can happen for sure. I mean, anything where you're sort of forced to play through something, you know, and that's also a bigger topic, but it's like reviewing games on like a very strict deadline is not a cool experience. I think it's a really awesome service, but I've never been a very big fan because it changes. Like you can't compare it to movies because movies are like a certain amount of time and then you do the review, where gaming is fluid. Your enjoyment is how you want to enjoy it, and think of being forced to play it at speed, skip, whatever. There's no investigation at times. You know, you don't have time to think about messing around with things.
Yeah, you want to take it at your own time instead of somebody saying you have to do this. You want to be like, no, I want to go and enjoy it. Like I want to take my own time with it and enjoy the whole experience.
Or you got to play it on normal mode because it's easier, so you'll get through it fast.
Yeah. Remember one of the hardest reviews I ever had to write was I wrote a review. I used to do reviews on like the ScrewTech site. So I probably did like a dozen of them, right? It was kind of like a third wheel. But I remember the games that were worthy of reviewing, but you knew they were going to just be horrible. I remember I did a review for I wrote a video review for like Aliens Colonial Marines. And I did, I remember I did Fast and Furious Showdown. And I remember thinking, at what point as a reviewer, as a journalist, can I just say, I played this for 30 fucking minutes and it is not worth your time. Don't buy it.
So I would love to have that. Do you want to have that discussion?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about it.
This is super interesting now.
I would say you should not be doing a review of it, actually.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, your opinion is super valid, but that'd be the difference. It'd be like you should maybe write an editorial of how you were assigned the review and it was so bad you can't even do the review. And that becomes a great opinion piece. But like to say, this is my review. Now, this is just my opinion. You can argue against it. But I don't think you should give up on something and then call it a review because you didn't.
Yeah.
You don't know what else is out there.
You turn it into quality content.
Yeah. So if that did happen, say like you had somebody on a review and they're like, this game's horrible.
Yeah.
Like I can't do this.
Sucks for
Was
you.
it just like yeah. So did it just happen to where it was like, I'm sorry, you just got to keep on going through it, or could you be like, okay, we'll put you on, like you said, an editorial, and we'll have somebody else do the review for it? Or
yeah,
was
I mean,
it just...
this is probably not going to come out well because I'm not a sports guy, but like, you know, you're in the game, you know, you have to play until the game is over. You don't get to just like
So tough
take
it
to
out.
the bench.
Yeah, and that's
you just gotta tough it out.
And as somebody who was like, you know, like I got it was like a side gig I did with college, but you know, they would appear on the YouTube channel and stuff. So it was like, oh, this is work that's being presented if I ever wanted to apply to an IGN later, or if I wanted to go work in PR or QA at a gaming dev here in Dallas whenever I was working here. But it was like, I have to finish it. And that's what I did. I would finish the game and I would just be like,
yeah, not worth your time.
Yeah. But I think that's interesting to where it's it would be a fun editorial to write about how terrible of an experience it is and that pressure as a game journalist, and then you could flip it over for something that would probably get more clicks than a review.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You gotta make lemonade out of the lemons kind of situation. But that being said, I guarantee you there's a lot of reviews that you've read where the reviewer gave up, and it's not really like disclosed because there's no agreement like I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's sort of an assumption. I finished the game. Of course you would, But I guarantee you there's reviewers who they got so fed up. And how many games have you reviewed, right? So this is the wink and a nod part. It's like, you've reviewed so many. Like, you really want me to finish this? Like, I know what's coming. It's not going to be a surprise to anyone. And guarantee they were right 99% of the time. So it definitely happens. I don't think in the first 30 minutes, but people definitely, I think, give up on games sometimes, and they do the review anyway, probably.
Yep.
So you can hold their feet to the fire if you ask them in the comments and see if they ever respond. Because if they don't respond or skirt it, then you probably would be, wait a minute, maybe they didn't actually finish it.
Yeah, you see a 2 on it, you're like, yeah, they probably gave about halfway through at some point. Yeah, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Do you have any like personal testament to like what was the hardest game you ever had to gut through for? I promise we'll segue into something else. I'm sorry we're beating you over the head with these questions.
These are all, again, as long as your audience enjoys it. This part's the easy part for me, It's
okay.
Regaling, as long as I can remember, Gosh, I think there probably were too many to name, to be honest. I mean, I don't remember those because they're not memorable.
Yeah.
I do remember at the very beginning of my career, though, it was some Hercules game or something for N64. And I only remember it because, like, I didn't really like the game. And it was, like, one of those first ones where I was like, I knew I was being assigned a game that nobody wanted to review, And that was before I got to review Majora's Mask, right?
Yeah.
And, but I'm sure if I, like, dug back through it, but, like, if you asked me what games I reviewed, I can't even tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only remember the big stuff, but there's definitely been times where people are like, did you review this, whatever, Smash Brothers or Mario? And sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure.
That's the one I thought it was, Sean.
Yeah, I got it.
Wait,
Hercules, Kevin Sorbo's Hercules on N64.
It was like a Zelda type game.
Yeah,
It was
and
really
even now,
bad.
right, I say this,
Yep.
yes, it was.
Yep, I
And
know what you're talking about because I rented it.
I have that reaction because they used like one of the crow, like bird sounds, like 1-to-1. So at the time I was like, wait, either they're using the same like library or they stole it.
Oh, yeah.
And I always remember that as well for whatever reason, because it was kind of a Zelda knockoff. I'm like, why does the bird also sound the same?
That's awesome.
But I believe I reviewed that. Yeah. Kevin Sorbo.
Yes,
Man, what an
what
asshole.
a downfall. From Hercules, it just whoa,
Wow.
whoa.
Oh Jesus.
Oh, man.
So let's talk a little bit about like where people can find you now and like what's
Sure.
going on. We're already 40 minutes in. I don't know how long this will run, but so what kind of work are you doing now creatively?
Yeah, right now I've been focused on content creation, like I was saying. When I left IGN, I was doing things like I was helping Namco, for example, was spinning up some of their live stream stuff, thinking of building studio stuff, and I was working with them. And I was also being a producer in the background on some stuff, cutting some trailers, as well as doing Twitch. And so I was always, married to those two things. And it was, that's right.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, cutting trailers. Oh my God, I could stop you on everything you're talking
That's
about
fine.
right now.
That
Okay,
must mean it's interesting. That's good.
okay, let's talk about cutting trailers. Tell me something about the trailers you've cut.
Oh, man. I mean, it was literally, unfortunately, it was just like mobile trailers and stuff. So I wish I could tell you it was like these bombastic, amazing trailers. That's what I wanted to do. I would say most of the work that was like high grade, was still left at IGN. All my, big, more expensive passion projects are there. But for like, these are like mobile projects like, Super Impossible Road, if you've ever heard of it. And, it's not that much. Because again, I was only doing this for a little bit before the pandemic. So
Gotcha.
I wish I could tell you I cut like an Elden Ring trailer, but that didn't
Bloodborne
happen,
trailer?
I did the Elden Ring trailer.
I did
That's all me.
I did the Elden
I did
Ring
that
trailer.
one. That's
Okay.
me.
Well, either way, I'm sure the work is super impressive either way. But I just had to ask about that.
Yeah.
But kind of like editing gigs and stuff like that. What's I recorded a podcast with Lawrence and Lawrence on Talk the other day, and I got there were some comments about it on like the Rooster Teeth Reddit and stuff. They were all really, really friendly, but the conversation of it's kind of like this mood of Twitch is like the boiled down version of professional careers, right? My entire brand is based on Twitch streaming, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's something, what's great about Twitch is it allows creators and live streaming in general. This is the most authentic we're ever going to get to be as content creators, right? At least for me, as someone who's been in like edited YouTube content and countdowns and editorial stuff and all that kind of shit. Entertaining live is the rawest it gets. It's for me, it's the most natural thing that I want to create. What is live streaming for you as with the gloss and lens of a former, like, obvious like pioneer in a video game journalism space? How has that informed you as a Twitch streamer and as a live channel and as a singular creator?
Yeah. Tough question. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that the excitement of Twitch there's a lot about it that because it's that talk radio, live interaction, that is what makes it special. Anything could happen, but also it is the witnessing somebody go through a game live. You know, I guess coming from a critic background, for me, that always, as I tried to figure out what is Twitch and what excites me, because everybody has their own way of doing it, getting into the game and like you see the moment that I'm frustrated, and I talk to you about why that is as someone with a critic background. That's more my style, but of course, like there's just super goofy moments that happen, which is I think intrinsic to what Twitch is. Like you goof up something and that becomes pretty hilarious, you know, from a live perspective. But I think I've always approached it more from that critic side. I'm like a walking, talking review, you know, as I go, a preview, whatever. I try to always inform people. I won't just say like, that camera sucks, you know. I'll say that and then I add to it, you know, as much as I can, you know, and hopefully it's a lot more exciting than that example, by the way. But
no, you're good.
But yeah, I do that type of stuff. But also talking with the audience directly and fielding that stuff live, you know, I always find interesting as somebody shares their thought. You can have a live bouncing board while you're playing a game. So I'm probably more focused on that, but I don't know, at the same time too, I do play stuff like, you know, Apex and trying to get better at games, and doing that in a live forum is always kind of interesting. But what I would say is in the long run, to me, that's entry level. I think I really appreciate what you guys are doing is like, you have so many things you want to do, right? But you got to get the funding. You've got to get the help, the staff, and you also got to iterate and grow. And I think Twitch is still super young in the amount of things that can be done. I say this a lot that, and I hope it always comes across right. I'm like, there's some people with a lot of money, and I'm always like, you really need to reinvest that. And I don't know why it's always in the bedroom, you know. And I always bring that up. I'm like, there's this fear on Twitch, I think. Because when I look around, it's like, well, you're at home, you're just chilling. I do like that. But what is wrong with hiring other people and, you know, improving on things? You can still be natural. But, I mean, look at what Howard Stern became or people like him. You know, there's nothing wrong with being in the studio. He didn't have to do it from his bedroom. And so I hope that we see more of that, you know, like you guys are doing. Start to reinvest that stuff. And
we were just talking about this today in that, like, you know, a lot of young streamers or new creators, like they'll be making something and then they'll post on YouTube. It's like, I worked on Twitch and now I bought a $6 million apartment. And
and that's their choice.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. That's
but
cool.
I wouldn't spend it that way. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Not until I can have both. I want the $6 million apartment, but then I also want the $6 million studio and staff. You know, that is my dream, honestly, on Twitch. Is that I thought it would maybe take off a bit more. I have been very dedicated to it. YouTube is frankly, well, it's hard. It's weird to say maybe. I want to say it's an easier place to make money, as is, you know, growing social and.
Once you're established, it's a much easier place to make money.
It's a hard place to get your foot in the door, or if you just don't know. It is a game that you got to play against all the competition that's there. But in other words, I really, you know, it's surprising to me that Twitch hasn't quite taken off the way I thought it might have by now. But part of that is the tech of the. I mean, think about it. There's very few like recommended videos, algorithmic stuff. It's literally like unless like you guys raid me or I raid you, it's very hard to. Yeah. And our audience might watch each other, but they do have some recommendations.
We get a lot of people. Whenever we started like rolling your VO clips on the Twitch, people be like, "Is that Fran?"
Yeah, they know your voice.
And I I knew you had a following and stuff, but I didn't understand that like just on voice, people would be, "Oh, it's Fran! Wow, that's so cool!"
I would go out and say about half of the community
really?
knew your voice just right off the bat. The first day we put it up, they're like, "Is that Fran?"
Yeah, it was the vocal half probably. I'm sure there's a bunch of people like, "I don't know who you're talking about." But yeah, I mean, as you've seen, being around. Sorry, there's a motorcycle in the background. For a long time, I think people heard my voice at IGN, and there's like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Fireteam Chat or Destiny. There was a big Destiny contingent for years that they never even knew what I looked like, but they would listen to it in their cars and commutes and other stuff like that. You know exactly how that goes. Like they could never see your face, and they'll hear you on the street and be like, "Wait, are you Sean from Hang Time?" You're like, I've had that interaction. They're like, "I didn't know what you looked like," but they recognize the voice. It's nuts.
Yeah. In regards to the Twitch thing, it's we want to be at a point to where like we're building the studios to where we can be IRL streamers that play video games really often rather than a guy in a box playing a video game on the screen, right?
Yeah.
Our goal is to just get to a point to where honestly we're innovating in content so much that Twitch we have no choice to grow. But the hard part about Twitch really is that I've talked about this on stream a lot, but that top 0.001% of creators, they really do just own that entire platform. They're gonna have to implement like algorithmic changes, rearrange how their layout is. They're gonna have something catastrophically rearranging would need to happen for organic growth on the platform.
It's just wild it hasn't even been rumored to be happening.
Yeah.
Like it blows my mind.
Yeah. I mean, they've done like little tests with things as they always do, but it's just so focused on what it is today. It's hard to imagine for me now. Yeah, years later, again, I sort of thought we'd see some more dramatic changes. But instead, the most dramatic changes I've seen is that music is popping and it's becoming a heavy music service, which is a little concerning. Gaming is huge, but how many times have you gone to the front page of Twitch and it's just music? I don't know if you look at the front page of Twitch.
That's kind of true.
There's a lot of music, which is awesome.
Dancing as well, like people in a room,
live performance.
Exactly.
So it's becoming more multicultural, which is a good thing. But as a gamer, it's sort of like how do they tell all those stories in the same way that YouTube has to deal with it? YouTube isn't just gaming, but Twitch has a front page, which is that they host stuff. It's a little different.
Yeah, I think, and again, that's kind of the goal is to when that preview pops up, since we can't set thumbnails or anything, when that preview pops up, somebody sees something. They see us in the space, they see us outdoors chopping wood, and they're like, yeah, exactly. Like what in the hell? So
outdoors chopping wood.
We pulled a new sub yesterday because they said they clicked on us playing Pokemon, and the reason why they clicked on us is because it was two people in an office playing Pokemon. Legit was their chat to us.
Yeah, it was different enough, right?
Yeah.
So
that's all we did to draw them in. It was just me and PETA playing Pokemon in an office, and they're like, "Oh, that's different. I'm not used to seeing that."
Yeah,
that's
two
awesome.
people.
Yeah, and that's sort of the point. I think we need more of that. It shouldn't. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the general format of it's a face and a game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's how it has to be.
Yeah. But would like to see more diversity on that, And it's like, that's where I have my laundry list of, ideas, you can imagine with my background, but it's a lot of money and time, and so there's got to be a path to that, right? So at either some point you either got to start taking out the loans, or you've got to make some big moves like Patreons and so on and so on.
Well, I'll tell you right here on the podcast on a live recording that one of the reasons we're building the studio is to offer a low, if not no cost solution for people we collab with. Like, let's say, kind of funny, obviously they're building like a new studio, right? Let's say they want to do an outdoor event that needs to not have a roof, and they don't want to pay the city of San Francisco, bajillion dollars to shut down the park. It's like, we're
You can do that.
within 40 minutes of the airport. We're an Uber away, so we'll
Sublet.
just make the show for you, and you fly out whoever you need to do it, right?
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, that could also, I'm sure there's publishers even that might work out where they want to use the space for an event or a stream. That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. Like here in Dallas, we have Gearbox and id Software. There might be a Bethesda branch.
Well, they have to be because it is a part of Bethesda. Now.
Yeah. Well,
so,
yeah. That
so
might
they're
be what
all
I'm thinking.
linked in.
So yeah, GameStop headquarters is just down the road from us,
Yep.
and it's like, hey,
What
we
up?
are so cheap compared to
Yeah.
this mega studio. So come
That's smart.
operate. So, but yeah, I'm hoping that's like, it's kind of like a pipe dream, but really, if you have anything to where, if you work with anybody and it's like, cool, the only thing we don't have is a space and equipment. It's like, cool, well, we just invested like 12 grand in studio lights and
Yeah.
cameras and rigging. So it's like future proof for all time. I'm even going to hit up local car dealerships and I'm going to be like, hey,
Drag it on in.
bring your inventory
Yep.
here and we will do your YouTube content for you. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping for that kind of new business venture with the space to where we can, our Twitch chat like funds all of our
Yeah.
equipment, salaries, health insurance. So it's like to just try to make some money that's not directly from them would be
Yeah.
wonderful.
No, I think that's smart. I mean, you guys have put a lot on the line, and so I don't think it's wise to try to diversify and say like, yeah, is there any from local to do? I can tell you this as a collaborator, like per the topic we were on, like when and if Twitch grows, to the point that you can do things like that. Oh man, I'd have a bazillion pitches where okay, I want to use the space for this. We're going to get a local camera crew. We're going to do that. You get it. I know you have
Yeah.
those ideas too, but it takes the money and the time. And again, that's what I want to see more of on Twitch. And again, hopefully not just from the people that are already pulling in $2 million.
Yeah,
a
exactly.
year.
Like to have
But-
Twitch back these big ideas to actually take pitches on from its creators and then give them the revenue to produce it and then,
Yeah. I mean,
boost that signal for them for the show that they're putting on, like event streaming.
Yeah. I wonder if they would get into stuff like that. They've done many rounds of that, but
Yeah,
they've obviously
YouTube is a little bit ahead of the
funded
game on like
original
event
programming.
streaming and like first party produced content from the creators. They're very, very far ahead, frustratingly so.
Yeah.
But we'll see how things evolve.
See what this year brings. New year. There was rumor that Twitch was investigating 4K streams, which, I mean, even though that's a huge bitrate cost and complications with that, if
Yeah.
that's true, just hearing that there might be new things coming in 2022 was enough to okay. Maybe this year we'll hear some bigger changes.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, games journalists. Let's talk about what's coming. Okay. I think we've had this is episode 7 because we are recording ahead of time. I
Yep.
got more guests coming. I'm recording with Greg Miller tomorrow
Wanna punch that guy in
on
the
the next
face.
episode. I know. What'd you say?
I want to punch that guy in the
I want to punch
face.
that guy in the face. And then he's going to be on our podcast.
Man, we need to have that. That needs to be the intro.
We're going to dream.
Greg Miller.
We're going to
I
dream.
want to punch that guy in the
I was
face.
on a kind of funny podcast when I told him that to his face, and he told me that one time there was a prospective hire that had dragged him,
Oh, yeah.
and they took this prospective hire to a diner, and Greg Miller gave him like printed copies of the terrible things he had said, and then they all left
Yes.
him there.
Awesome. That is
So-
brilliant.
That's so tough.
I know.
That's so tough.
That happened
But,
twice then. There was another recent story like that in the last several years at IGN, yeah, where somebody had applied and then they looked up the history and noticed they were talking all this trash and
Yeah.
they just replied to them nicely in this case.
Well, that's what you
By the
get
way-
by getting paid to write better reviews for game companies.
That's right.
Out of all the things that are so corrupt. Anyways, I've had so many guests on the streams, but we haven't talked about video games like
Yeah.
one time as far as like what we actually like to play and engage with. So what the hell's going on with 2020? How are you going to budget your time? here?
Cannot. I'm an idiot because I play games that have no end, and I play too many of them.
Yep.
Destiny. I decided to, main New World lately, an MMO, which was a really
Messed up.
I've
Messed
actually
up.
I decades ago really said, I'm not playing MMOs anymore. Like, it's a bad idea. But because it was so integrated with Twitch, etc., I decided to go for it. And it's, it's been interesting finding some new community members, but the burden is rough. But yeah, I fear February. But my biggest upcoming stuff is, Destiny, Witch Queen, Horizon Zero Dawn, Elden Ring. I almost said Elder Scrolls with the.
Oh my God, I wouldn't. It's like, for me, it's like I don't even consider Destiny because it's like so big. I just never felt.
I forget
felt behind
about it all the time.
And so like that is stacked on top of everything. That's such a massive amount of content.
Yeah. I'll spread it around though. But those are just like the recent stuff that excite me. I really hope we get Breath of the Wild 2 this year. That's gonna be a monster hit, and it remains to be seen if God of War will still come out. Be an end of the year thing, but those I tend to like action RPG stuff, obviously. What about you guys?
Oh man,
Elden Ring's a big one.
Yeah,
and Sifu for me. Sifu is big for me.
Yeah, that's the Kung Fu beat 'em up where your guy ages the more damage he takes. It's a PSN, kind of like Sleeping Dogs. Kind of controls like Batman Arkham.
Oh, interesting.
That kind of thing.
It comes out in February, I do believe, like the first week of February, second week.
Yeah, like the 8th. We're in such a tough spot with the spring Fallout releases because we have the Office build and then we have March to the Top where we're going to try to become the #1 sub-2 streamers on all of Twitch.
Nice.
So.
Oh, and we have Fallout As Long As You Want It as well, which can go for who knows how long.
Yeah, we do these marathons where we'll incentivize for time where it's like, hey, if you want us to play this entire game, you got it. But the...
Yeah, you may not have a choice to play some of these games from the sound of it. It's like
it's like we'll see these games in April, right?
Yep.
Which I don't know, might be good. We'll see how the dust settles and like what's still getting played on Twitch and how they turned out, I guess, and then just kind of roll with it.
Do you guys ever? Yeah, do you feel that it's rough sometimes because you are playing games that may be popular, that your audience has chosen you play or continue to play, that you're missing out on things? That you're like, I just kind of want to play X or Y.
One of our New Year resolutions was to play games for ourselves.
Yep.
A lot of times we would I would hoard experiences because I want to play them on stream, right, and share them with the audience and be passionate about what I'm playing on. But I recently, I bought Far Cry 6, and I was like, I'm going to, because I'll go home and I would get it. I'd get on my phone and I'd turn on some crap that I've seen a million times, and I would just kind of sulk and look at social media. It'd be 10 o'clock at night, and I didn't enjoy the past 3 hours of my life, and I got off work. So I'm putting in effort to play things. I know it sounds really weird, but as we work and stream so much, and we're playing video games for the camera,
it's very different.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, like I got to the point where I was telling myself, I put in 7 hours of a game. I don't need to go home and play video games anymore. But I wasn't dropping it to, no, you were streaming that video game. You weren't like playing it like you normally do by yourself and kind of digging through everything.
Yeah.
So
Grayson just did Days Gone,
yeah,
right?
I went back and I started off, I was like, all right, I'm going to platinum Days Gone. So I did that, which was probably the weirdest experience ever for me because I didn't expect to platinum it. Yeah. And then I did the same thing with Spider-Man because I was like, well, I played halfway through Spider-Man, but I never finished it. So I went back through it and started over again and platinum that. Now I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll move on to Miles Morales next.
Nice.
So it's been awesome.
I think that's been one of the biggest pitfalls of live streaming has been the, I need to play video games without feeling the guilt, and explaining to my wife Chelsea and being like, hey, I know I just played video games for 10 hours. I'm gonna go in my room and play video games for like 3 hours. so I know it's silly, but it's different,
I don't think so
right?
at all. Yeah, I mean,
I think she understood.
After work.
Yeah, but I think that's the big thing.
It's also weird for me because there are certain games that I'm like, I can only stream this game because there's so much stuff that happens in it that I want that experience to be shown through a stream. Like Hades for me is like that because I have yet to beat a run on Hades, and I want to play it at home because I love that game. But I also don't want to because I'm like, I know that if I do it and they're like the community isn't with me, I'm gonna be pissed because they missed it. Because it's been so ingrained for me to play it with all them watching me that I'm like, I just can't. And it's the same way with From Software. I can't play a From Software game without streaming it.
Yeah. And what I hate about that is, like, I used to be the From Software guy. Like, on the channel, I'd play all this From Software games. That's my favorite thing. I started streaming so I could play From Software games. And like, we've rolled over audience, and I beat all of this From Software games a long time ago. We've rolled over so much audience, and they've watched Grayson play games that I had already played on the channel before. They think Grayson's From Software guy. So now it's like, I really want to play Elden Ring,
which I would gladly let you. I would not take that from you.
But
I'm being honest, I would.
But it's like, I don't want to take it away from the audience because they now like watching Grayson play, right? And so,
I mean, you got two chairs. How come you both don't just play some?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's so many different builds, and
yeah.
That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're probably gonna do. Is like, we'll just both play through it.
Yeah.
I'm weird because whenever Sekiro came out, I watched Sean play through the whole game. And to me, I was like, man, that experience alone was incredible.
So good.
Yeah. So, like, if you want Elden Ring, I will gladly be like,
you know what you
can
do?
have that.
But like, it's also like, those games are so fun to play with somebody because you can root for. There's somebody to yell on the couch whenever you beat them, and you know, offer solutions. And then even from a business standpoint, we don't want to just pass it because from a channel standpoint, that could be a ton of content if we both played through it on two separate occasions, right? So it's so much shit to think about, right? And
it's a nice problem to have, yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's a beautiful problem, let me tell you.
I was gonna say, it'd be as always, it's more work, but it's like if you could figure out how to get the resource to have both of you playing at the same time and go back and forth between the, you know, you're the toilet head monk dude and you're the crazy demon knight guy, and then you know, you go back and forth, and then you can also co-op at some point.
Oh man,
you know, so maybe you could figure out how to do a dual stream someday, you know.
Yeah, but it is that's the kind of hard part about. It's such a privileged thing to say. It's like, that's the hard part about figuring out how to play video games.
Oh no,
4 people versus alone.
Who's gonna play Elden Ring? God, the stress of it all.
I hate this for us, honestly, Fran. I really do.
It is funny though. It's funny because I've been in this situation many times, right? Whether it's for the review or, you know, being on camera for something. It's like, man, I want to do that. And it's like, well, but they're that person now. You're the Nintendo person now. So let them go do it. So I totally get the struggle. But, you know, like I said, you got 2 chairs. I think break it up here and there. You're not really in I mean, I feel like Elden Ring could last for so long, too, you know. So, you know, I would like to see
curious.
those.
Are you excited about Armored Core rumors?
I haven't even seen these rumors.
Apparently,
they haven't been out for long.
Yeah, apparently Miyazaki's going to make an Armored Core reboot.
You know, I mean, Armored Core never really was like this incredible game that stood out for me. Like, I think Armored Core is a cool series, and obviously somehow led to what they're doing today with you know, everything with Demon Souls and Elden Ring. But yeah, I don't know. What about, are you guys excited at all? And if so,
I would be.
I don't care what he makes.
Yeah, like I grew up with Armored Core. Like,
what's that?
No, that's what from Grayson. What excites you the most about playing another Armored Core game?
It was one of those games it was one of the first games I remember my brother getting on his PlayStation. So I would play it and he would make fun of me because I would always pick the most ridiculous weapons and try to beat the game with it. So hearing that the game is coming back, it's kind of like, okay, I need to hop back in the series again because it just brings back so many good memories. So hearing that we could get like a very, very high quality Armored Core game excites me. Plus, like, mechs are cool. Like,
I wouldn't complain. I mean, I'd love to see how it evolved, obviously. So yeah, I'm not, for the Armored Core fans, I am not knocking Armored Core. I'm just saying it never, in the way that Demon Souls became Dark Souls, became Sekiro. I mean, man, what a incredible path for them, and it's defined a genre, and you can't get enough of it. So the idea that they might even split resources to worry about, say, Armored Core, that's the only part that stands out. Like, just finishing Elden Ring alone is tough enough, let alone, you know, what's coming after that, and so on. So.
Hopefully Bloodborne 2.
Yeah.
How about Bloodborne at 60 frames a second?
I know. I was just talking about that earlier,
What
Fran.
is
I was
going
just
on
talking
with
about
this?
it. I know. I'm ready to go back through it again. I'll do it. I don't even care. I'll fight Lawrence again. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll do it again.
But how is it not at 60 frames a second on PlayStation 5? They must be planning something.
There's
been the rumors of remakes, but it's crazy to me.
I don't even care. Like, they could literally not even make it a remake. If they were like, $10, 60 frames, and be like, I
That's
got
what I'm
it.
talking about.
I'm in.
I'm literally
That's
talking
all I
about
need.
that. I should disclose.
Don't need out the graphics.
I should disclose. I've never played Bloodborne because.
Oh no. Because you're waiting.
Oh,
That's even more
not
frustrating.
man.
I missed the original window.
Uh-huh.
And then I went back and finally got in, to like Sekiro was my first big From Software game, but I'd always wanted to play them. It's up my alley. It's just, between Destiny and, the hours.
That's
at
all you
IGN,
need.
et cetera.
That's all
Yeah.
you're gonna need.
Yeah.
If you're a fan
Yeah.
of something, Destiny will keep you
But-
fueled.
But for years now, I'm like, oh, surely it'll just be a 60 frame. It's one of the like most beloved PlayStation games. For it not to be ported to even 60 is strange, and I've said this now for years, and so something's got to be going on. But it sucks that we have to wait. I refuse to believe, some of the people will say, oh, it's very difficult with all the animation to make it 60. But come on, man.
Yeah.
Like you just said it here. It's like people be like, well, he's really busy. They got all these excuses, and now we're rumoring Armored Core. Like, come on, 60 frames, 3 months. Give it to the studio, whatever. Like, just spend the money, please.
Yeah, I mean, you've
60
got
frames.
Demon Souls, like one of the most gorgeous games ever made,
Yep.
running at 60 and 4K. With,
Yeah. But that was a full remake. But
yeah.
Maybe
But
they're gonna
nonetheless.
pull like a Spider-Man Miles Morales and be like, well, here's Bloodborne 2 with Bloodborne 1 remastered.
yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
some-
cool.
some crazy
Could
shit.
be,
Oof.
but I don't want to wait that long.
I get it. I completely get it.
We're flying through time right here. What are you kind of like creation wise? All these conversations I'm going to like content creation, but like what are you looking to really do in 2022? Do you have any like content creation goals or anything like that?
Well, like I said, I have a monster list, but it requires a lot of big changes and funding, etc. And for now, literally I've been focused on Twitch. But doing more stuff like this is definitely on the list. As you know, collaborating is one of the best things you can do, especially when, it's pretty easy to, if you know people and you can just get together and cross-pollinate. And so, one, thank you for having me on. I need to do this more.
Oh man, I gotta tell you, I tweeted about this, but I was like, okay, I need guests for the podcast so I can schedule ahead of time. And once I got all the messages out, and I was just like, man, I just texted Ray Narvaez. Like, I just texted Tim Geddes. It was very eye-opening of like how cool and fortunate we are to be in like a circle of creators. And yeah, man, it's our privilege to have you on. But I think in our space, hopefully, the audience will, cross-pollinate and go check out everything we have going on. But I think it's going. We just got to grow together,
Yeah. Now, I think you guys are going to have an awesome year. Like, so you already achieved some pretty amazing stuff in the past, and you're sinking your teeth into it now, right? So,
Fran said that.
I can't wait. Oh, come on, guys. Look at you. You already have like an amazing setup, and you've got a lot of people working together. Like, I mean, it was funny because when you hit me up talking about some of the things you're doing, like it's some of this stuff on my laundry list. Not the exact same thing, but the same general flow of it, right? It's like you've got to do this. You've got to hold your subathons. You've got to eventize things, and you've got to so on and so on. But it is, as you can attest to, I'm sure, it's a lot of work and money and risk, etc. But yeah, you guys, I think you're gonna have a killer year. I love the new brand, and as you see, I think there's a circle of supporters already that are totally digging it. So
yeah, I think we're all rooting each other on. I think we all, have audiences that understand the stakes, right? In that, especially now that kind of funny's kind of led this revolution of just trust your audience, just go for it, whatever. Just tell them what you want to make, and they'll get it for you.
Yeah, they love you guys already. I think no matter what you do, you'll have that support. You're not gonna suddenly be different people that they're like, I can't even look at him anymore. That won't happen. If anything, hopefully you grow.
Yeah, something terrible would really have to happen. But I think for us, the year is just kind of like, just kind of go for it. Like, worst case scenario, we have a cool studio, and we'll have personal channels where we kick ass together in the studio if the brand fails. It's just trying to stay lax and kind of see
you're
how
humble.
things fall.
That's good. But
Yeah.
I don't see that happening at all. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to the question, I think collaborating with folks and all is probably one of my bigger goals. Like I say it every year, and I know a number of folks, and you sometimes you wait to be invited, but also there's no reason not to reach out to more people. Like, hey, because sometimes they're looking for content, right? And that's something that a lot of content creators, as they are growing, either they're too timid to do or they forget to do. But it's like, dude, just get together with one of your cohorts. I'm sure they will want to do something with you.
Yeah, I think that's the scary thing about collaboration is you don't want to feel like you're bothering anybody.
Yeah.
But just I don't know. It's just psycho. Some of the people that are just like, yeah, whatever. Tell me when. It's like, what are you will?
Yeah, I don't think it hurts to ask, but also in the proper way. Of course, it's like, let's say I want to be on again. It's like, I would say, hey man, I had an awesome time on the podcast. If you ever want to do something again, I'd be totally stoked. Just let me know when. If I don't hear from you in 6 months, that's fine. You're busy. But then I'd come back and I'd be like, hey, I'd really love to do something and get back together if you guys have a slot. No worries if not. And it's that last part that I always try to impart to people. It's like, it's a big difference between saying, hey, can I be on the show? I'd love to be on the show. I want to do it, and putting the pressure on them and not having the release valve. You need don't worry about it if not, anytime in the future.
Writing this down.
I am. You're actually, that's exactly what all of my DMs to Brian Altano look like. I just want you to know. Hey, love to have you on because he said
it's cool. But
he said
really
a couple
cool.
of times on Twitter he would love to be on, but he hasn't answered any DMs yet. So Brian Altano, if you're watching this, just know, hey, if you want to be on, that's cool. At your pace, only if you want it.
Yeah, I'll bother Brian for you if you want.
Okay, anytime.
So he should totally
be like, Brian, answer Sean's DMs, but only if you want to. If he doesn't want to, it's fine. I will wait. I will wait years. I will wait years for Brian.
I guarantee you, Brian would love to be on the show, but as you can relate to, it's like between the family and everything he's got going on. I'm sure that's the only reason he ever would turn down.
He's got a little one, right? He's a daddy.
Yeah.
Oh man, everybody having babies.
I know. Not me.
Are you having babies?
No, not right now. So none that I know of. So yeah.
I love the quick answer. No.
We'll see.
I mean, not right now. Yeah. So I would love to someday, but right now, no.
Are you married?
No. I'm single. Live in San Francisco. And it was
sick apartment. Drives a Porsche 911 Turbo. I'm single. I'm single in San Francisco.
I live in a one bedroom and share it with my brother, by the way. So yeah, San Francisco is expensive, but it was literally that's exactly it. Being a Twitch streamer right now.
Oh my goodness.
Focusing on that in San Francisco. Like we're talking about, where will the growth be, and focusing on that versus. We're also in the middle of the pandemic and
of course,
not that you can't get out there and date people, but it is a lot more tricky. So it's like, I'm focused a lot on doing this content and everything. So that was really the quick reaction, but I don't know how much time I have left either though, to be fair. So it's like well,
I want you to know you're super fucking hot. I'm not even kidding.
There you go.
I'm not even kidding.
Way to break the ice.
You are so attractive.
Way to break that ice.
Oh, sorry.
You set me up down in Dallas. I'll come on down and we'll collaborate in your new studio, and then maybe I'll meet my future wife down there or whatever. We'll see.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh my gosh! I will bring speed
dating with Fran
into the studio.
Dating? That'd be sick.
Oh my gosh!
That would be so sick.
Could you imagine?
Oh
I just put out a local listing for some Dallas honeys.
Honeys?
I don't know.
What?
Is that the name of the show? Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas Honeys with Fran.
Could we be in his ear? Like he has a little earbud in.
My God.
You're
feeding
feeding me lines. It's like there was a cup. Oh yeah, Eliminate and like there's some like really old like mid 2000s cringe shows. Super cringe.
Oh yeah.
That's
like
what you
Blind
should do.
Date?
No, what
Yeah,
was
Oh
the
man, I used to watch that all the
the
time.
pickup artist?
Oh man, that was the
gross.
worst.
Do you remember
They
that?
were bad. I don't remember that. I remember
horrible.
Eliminate.
Oh my gosh.
It was cringy, but funny.
But you got it. Okay, find Fran a wife. Live stream series coming soon.
That's right. Yeah, maybe
easy.
that will be, both the success on Twitch and that will all happen at the same time because of that. So
I am going to speak to my Twitch partner manager on your behalf. I'm not even kidding. It's going to be like, hey, I met this dude famous in San Francisco or something. Wants a wife. Can you help me out? Can you help me produce that?
What if he was like, you bet?
That's what gets them.
Got it.
It's like, That's
I'm
the
worried
one.
I'm gonna get like an email of headshots from you guys soon. Of like, I was just kidding around. Like he's like, no, I've already talked to them.
It's already
You're set-
green.
We
It's
grab
already
you by
happening.
the hand and just pull you through the entire experience like we're
Yep.
leading you on a Destiny 2 raid. No, you don't want her, Fran.
Just stay out of that. Mm-mm. Don't.
You guys in my ear. Oh man,
Uh-huh.
that would be
We
funny. Think
won't
of that would be like 2 layers. You could have Twitch chat feeding back what they want to see, and then you guys filtering that and sort of deciding, and you basically
Twitch
controlling
polls.
the date.
Oh,
That'd be a
God,
good
Twitch
show.
polls.
That'd be
Twitch
a-
marries?
This is a
Oh,
great
man.
show.
Oh man,
Twitch
would be a-
marries.
It'd
Or
be like
Twitch proposes.
it's a
There's
whole
and
new
then- and
form
then-
of The Bachelor,
We
dude.
got
This is
something.
so sick.
somebody's
could-
gonna
you
do
could-
it.
You could be like a surrogate that represents the chat in human form. And the
Yes.
chat's goal at the end of the stream is to get the woman to say yes.
Yeah.
and you have to communicate
How-
how they chat.
How long do you think it would be horrible before it went good?
It's cringe in my mind.
Yeah.
I was
It's
like,
not
I don't know how you'd moderate that. It would
Yeah.
be it would also be a disaster. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
absolutely.
There's
horrible.
something in there though.
Yeah, we'll
something
find
in
it.
there.
We'll find it. But man, I won't take too much of your time. Like I've told Khalif last week, I'm gonna save some for episode 2 whenever we have you back. So thank you so much for joining us. Where can they find you?
Yeah, on Twitch TV/FM3. And there's an underscore. So just so you can remember it, my name is Fran Mirabella III. Those are my arcade initials, FM3, right? Every time I got my high score, FM3, FM3. So,
You didn't
maybe
put
I should have
USA. Fuck you.
FM3 USA.
You can't just say you didn't put that, not even let them answer, and then say, fuck
Oh,
you.
wait a minute. You just put in USA every day?
I put in USA on every because
I put in butt.
you put in butt.
Yeah, just B-U-T.
I
butt.
put in USA because of King of Kong with Billy Mitchell.
Oh, yeah.
Billy
yeah.
Mitchell puts in USA at every high school.
Amazing. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, they asked him, they go, what initials do you put in at the end? And Billy Mitchell, he's got like a Statue of Liberty tie. He goes, look at my tie. What do you think? He goes, what do you think I put in? And then it cuts to footage of him going, USA.
That's
It's like, oh
brilliant.
my God.
But anyway, yeah, I'm just FM3. If you search for FM3 on Twitch, you'll find it. But there's an underscore after it. It's pretty much that, and then Fran Mirabella on Twitter. So
What a
would
dream.
appreciate
what is-
you dropping by anytime.
He's the best.
You're the best.
First time meeting him, best.
You
Yeah,
guys are
absolutely
awesome.
best.
This is so much fun.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys later. Go check out Fran at on the Twitches and go watch this old Nintendo 64 Wave Race video that I've linked in the description. I'm just kidding,
Okay.
but I'm gonna try to track
Now
it
it's
down.
going to happen probably.
We'll see if I can link it. That would be
It got
incredible.
like a 9 or something like that. It was highly rated.
Yeah, IGN gave it a 9.4.
Yeah.